Right, let's get into it. This is It Worked in a Demo. The idea is simple. You send us a story about an AI project that looked great, then fell over in the real world. I'll read it out, and I will explain what exactly broke. I'm Rob. I'm not the technical expert on AI-ready data, but I have seen up close how hard businesses are finding it to launch AI projects, and actually even harder to scale them into something reliable. That's Hobe, sat across from me. He did his bachelor's and master's at UCL, earned a PhD in artificial intelligence from Seoul National University, and has published more papers than he'll comfortably admit to. He founded Cubic, where they work on exactly the problem this show is about, getting enterprise data ready for AI. Because the model that looks brilliant in the demo can quietly fall apart in production if the data underneath isn't ready. And by the looks of it, he's also brought his cat.
I'm not sure whether you can see here the little cat here.
Yeah, I can't see the cat.
Oh, you really? Okay, she's here.
Yes, lovely.
She has
So today is really for two people. First, the engineer who built something genuinely impressive, only to watch it break the moment it touched real data. And second, the AI leader who paid for it and now has to explain why the return still isn't there. And if one of those sounds like you, use the comments to tell us your role in the business. But my job today is pretty simple. I'll ask the obvious questions, maybe the slightly daft questions, and the ones you might not want to ask out loud. If you've ever sat in a meeting thinking, am I the only person who doesn't understand this? Don't worry, I'm here to ask that for you.
Honestly, every one of these is something any of us could ship a shift. That's why we are worth going through.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's have a look at the first story. Let's put that up. So this first one's for anyone who's watched their model look like a genius in a demo, then lose the plot the moment it meets real data. You didn't change the model, you didn't change the code, yet somehow it still got worse. And at the end of it, whose name do you think ends up on the report? So this is from someone we'll call Mara. She's a senior ML engineer at a legal AI startup, and she writes, we built a contract review model. In the demo, it worked really well. It caught every clause and every risk was flagged. Even the top lawyer at the client actually clapped. We signed a 6-figure deal, then we ran it on their real documents and the accuracy collapsed. There wasn't a clear error, no warning, it was just confidently wrong. When we looked closer, the real data barely looked like the data it had been built on. Dates were written differently. There were several clauses we had never seen before. Entire categories were missing from the demo set. We never touched the model, and it just failed to work as well as it did in the test environment as it did in the production. Unfortunately, the client relationship is now at risk, and the spotlight is falling on me personally. So Mara there is quite under pressure. So maybe a daft question then to start with. My thoughts are, if the model didn't change and the data was the thing that caused the problem, is that just a software development bug? What makes that different, Hobe?
Actually, if you look at the current traditional code, the most bugs go red, which means that sometimes crashes, a test fails, and you get an error. Basically, you can see what is going on wrong. So this one stayed green the whole way. I mean, the little cat is observing me anyway. But anyway, the software did everything right, but it was just being fed a different reality, and nobody had a way to notice. That's it.
Okay, so maybe I'll try a harsher or ruder version. Doesn't every team with a broken model say we didn't actually touch the model? Why isn't this just Mara's team maybe rushing the data process, then blaming the data afterwards?
Well, because if the data were dirty, then the cleaning would be cut it. Where heart wasn't dirty, it went in looking spotless. The demo ran on a small, which is the tiny sample someone who picked up from the companies. Well, but if you look at the projects on the site, it ran the client's actual world. Nothing like it compared to the sample size, which was run in the POC datasets. So date the other way around, causes type the model had never seen, whole categories that weren't in the demo. Engineering have a name for the front edge of this, the training, serving, skewed, which simply means the distribution shift. The data you serve a model stop matching the data you trained in on it. hers went the whole way, a different words. The same model, completely different data, and nothing errored. It did exactly what it learned from AI model. It just learned from the place that didn't exist in the production.
So in plain terms, the model didn't get dumber, but the ground moved underneath it, and there was no one really there with a gauge to track it.
Exactly. No gauge, no warning. That's why it stayed green while it's already wrong. So how do you actually fix it? Not just patch it. You stop staring the model and you check the data before it reaches the model, which means you're checking the data set before you feeding into the model. So there's a handful of things that have been true. Can you trust it? Which means that can you trust the data? Does it still mean what it meant? And it is long enough to learn from it? Will it hold up tomorrow? And can you trace it if anything goes wrong? That's yes. Mara had none of that of client data sets. She made it for the first time in production, basically. So which means the data set that the Mara has tested in the POC data set didn't fit in the production data set. So each one of those is its own way to fail. That's the map. We've taken them one at a time over the next few weeks.
So it sounds like data testing. We've had DBT, Great Expectations, Databricks. Actually, we've had all kinds of checks and validations for years. What exactly is new here? Because I feel like people have been testing data pipelines for a long time.
Those tools check the problems you already know about. So Mara couldn't write a check for a class types she never seen it. In a client data she's never met. Well, obviously, the client won't share their internal data set during the POC data set. That's the problem. So you can't test it for the surprise you haven't met yet in the POC data set. And the rest of it tells you where the data came from. So not whether it's actually ready for a model.
So is SynTitan from Cubic the spell checker for data?
Well, that were all. Yeah, I would use the depth on price, go by depth. The job isn't just cleaning the data. It looks at the right thing, but before the model does.
Okay. And a quick one before we move on. If a company runs this kind of check every time, does its data have to leave its own systems?
No, it runs where your data already lives. So nothing gets pulled out from the client's side.
Ah, that's good. Okay. I've just seen I got a quick message from someone that's pinged in. We once had an intern who filled every blank cell with a 0 to tidy up the spreadsheet. Yeah, what do you make of that?
A 0 isn't missing, it's a value. So basically, if you look at the treasury data sets, the missing values all over the place, and even in these data sets. So the model quietly decides the average customer earned for these the missing values, and was won in this morning, and small edited real damage.
See, so yeah, so spreadsheet full of zeros, maybe not much money for the average customer, and maybe the age is wrong as well. Okay, yeah. Moving back to Mara then. So yeah, reflecting what she said exactly, it just failed to work as well in production. Her model never saw the real data. There wasn't really an accurate representation of the real world. And I guess essentially the training data was not AI ready.
Yeah, keep that line. The model made a word it was never shown. That's the shape of all of this. Yeah, we'll need in a minute. I think my new team member wished to join here. Yeah.
For those catching up with the recorded webinar, you can actually still get involved by adding your story via the QR code. And of course, anything that comes through, we'll be happy to help you understand where exactly that went wrong. Okay, so yeah, if we move on to the other story, the one who signs the checks. So that's our leadership story. So yes, this one's for the leader who's driving forward with AI initiatives. Typically, that's a powerful AI use case that probably got the green light up to a year ago, but you're still not delivering the expected benefits to your business. So the next one we have up is from Sarah, who's head of a retail group, retail and head of data. Yes, let's call her Sarah. She does not write the code anymore, although she used to be an engineer, but she does sign off on the departmental budgets, so very much in that leadership role. She writes to say, about a year ago, our dazzling local store assistant demo got prioritized instantly. Today, we still can't show the board a real return. Every month we add new data sources and the team has to rebuild half the pipeline by hand. Whether that's a new format, we need new meaning, and we have to start over again. She can't actually tell if she hired the wrong people or bought in the wrong tools. So a senior leader of a data company says her AI projects fail because of the data. You'd probably say that whether it was true or not, wouldn't you? So I guess my question is, why isn't this just Sarah's struggle to execute data after having a very impressive demo?
You've watched me pull one of these parts already. What do you think went wrong?
I guess the demo wasn't running on AI-ready data, given the theme of our discussions. And most likely the data used was maybe cleaned once at the start. It also seems that the production ran on data that kept changing, which meant they needed to rebuild the pipeline each month from the last year. So was it something like that?
Yeah, that's it. You got there yourselves, which is the whole point. Once you knew where to look, it stops being a mystery. Rebuilding by hand for every source is the bill you pay when the data was never ready to start with. And she's got plenty of companies. S&P Global found 42% of US companies have walked away from most of their AI work already. So nearly half of the pilots never seen reach production. So even Gartner expected 60% of AI production to stall by 2026, not because of the model are bad. I think it's all the foundation models and because of the data were never ready. So it's Mara 3 days has scaled up a core budget.
Okay, so quite similar to the previous situation. A quick question for you. Although I used the term earlier, I'm going to ask you to answer it. Someone's messaged, isn't AI ready just a buzzword made up by the marketing teams?
Probably, but it can still be helpful. Most new categories start out like this, and it clearly defines the problem people like Sarah are facing.
Yes, I can see you're doing the cat thing. You only petter that fast when I've actually asked you a difficult question.
Yeah, because he's on the support team, but he's supporting me. I mean, I'm not the very funny guy, but I'm a very tech guy, so I need a Mont to help me on the other side. Yeah, two voices. One root cause, the data were never ready for the world the model actually run it. Mara met the world at her first glance. Sarah met it 12 times and kept calling in the strategies. Yeah, that's what AI ready means. That the data a model can use the second it runs. No checking by hand, no building the meaning, no praying you can find a version that worked. It's just simply nightmare, right? Not just the tools, not just the cleaned, just be ready, yes.
So when you say AI ready for what exactly? And earlier you also used the word about execution. Are we talking about the data preparation side, or are we talking about the AI execution side?
Two halves of the same thing. AI ready data is what goes in. Execution is what comes out. The model actually doing its job in production. Day after day, the staying right even when the data underneath shifts. Both stories today had a demo that worked and no real execution because the data wasn't ready when it counted. The gap between those two is where the Sarah years and Mars weekend went.
So it's quite clear then that it's not just a label that you can on a spreadsheet. The main thing is whether it survives contact with the real world.
Yeah, that's it.
A quick sanity check before we wrap up this section. Everyone seems to be saying it's the data foundation, not the model type this year. We're hearing from big labs, we're hearing consultants are saying it. maybe everyone's saying it. Does that mean that we're late to the party?
We are right on time for the next bit. Everyone's about to agree it's the data, not the problem with the model. Then they will stop there and click the part that actually decide where your AI lives, which data, in what state, and whether you can prove in twice. Clean doesn't get you any of that. Yeah, that is the whole series.
So it seems like the headline's now obvious, but the devil is still in the detail, and in particular, the detail of the small print.
The small print is whether the money went.
Cool. So before we wrap up, maybe a direct question though. As a founder, why did solving this AI-ready data problem resonate with you so much?
Because it's what we worked on all day. And whichever role you are in, the engineering blamed for a model that never changed, or the boss who can't prove the value of the year's hard work. It's a rough stretch. So I've watched the good people lose weekends and whole quarters fighting the wrong thing. That's a lot of waste of time. So that's what we've been heading down on. So yeah, I'm not going to just pitching you here. So if today sounds like you're weak, take some of your own data and drop into our SynTitan trial. It's very easy. So any the Excel data set should work, or CSV files. So if the data aren't if the data are too sensitive, then you can find some of the data sets from the Kaggle and try it, just to see what state it really in. Yeah, that's the whole ask.
So yeah, we can put the link in the description and in the top comment. But maybe instead of just clicking, why not go and look at the actual state of your own data today? Sometimes find that's the most insightful. Whether that means you might have some nasty surprises or not, we'll see. But if you do, we'd love to hear from you, because we always love troubleshooting those. Because we are worked in the demo, died in production. Any of those types of stories, we'd love to hear them. We'll read the best ones out each episode, and we'll even buy you a coffee or two for the trouble. So next time, everyone's started saying it's data. We heard the big market labs, we heard the labs, the big markets, the big labs, the markets, and the consultants are saying it. So next time, we're going to go after the part that's still not solved. So if you've ever rebuilt the same data checks by hand on every project, and then 6 months later could not prove exactly what you've shipped, that episode is for you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, bring your stories.
Yeah, definitely. Send us your stories, and also go and check your data.